Welcome to another episode of me reviewing highlights. As always, I'm including markers to specific books, specific passages in the description so you can jump straight to them. And I always include links to the books themselves in the description again. So, with that, let's get started with the first highlight, which is from Everyday Chaos. Reducing the world to what we could understand and predict made sense when knowing our world was our best way of controlling it. Now, machine learning is letting us manage more and better by not insisting that we understand exactly how it works. So, this book is, um, I forget which year it is from, but it's been around for a while. And it's kind of like a philosophical note on this whole concept of machine learning and uh, everything that it entails. Right now, there is a lot more awareness of machine learning than before, and we understand now that these models, including this Chat GPT and everything, they don't really know much. They can't reason. They're basically really sophisticated models because they had a lot of data to train, but they work, and that's the whole point of this book, that it works. Machine learning works, and of course this is written long before Chat GPT came around. In fact, I think it was written even around the time of, like, maybe in the first GPT model, when NLP was kind of. I mean, of course, it existed, but uh, I just can't speculate because I don't even remember when this was written. But yeah, the point here is that there is this need for us to be deterministic, and the author is making a point, and I don't fully agree, as in, like, I see the point the author is making, but I don't find myself agreeing fully with the author. Is that machine learning, we should use it because it works, and these constraints about us not understanding how exactly it works and all the different properties of machine learning that we come to understand today, it, it's it's not like it's not important, but there are many ways of looking at it, and we have covered this book in many other passages, many other videos, right? But I think this directly hits the nail on machine learning, that um, it's it's letting us manage more and better by not insisting that we understand the world exactly how it works. As in, we don't need to understand all the formulas, how it exactly works. Machine learning just, it is an approximation, but it's a very good approximation, and that's good enough. That's the point. Let's move on to hidden potential. It's a mistake to judge people solely by the heights they have reached. By favoring applicants who have already excelled, selection systems underestimate and overlook candidates who are capable of greater things. When we confuse past performance with future potential, we miss out on people whose achievements have involved overcoming major obstacles. We need to consider how steep the slope was, how far they have climbed, and how they have grown along the way. The test of diamond in the rough is not whether it shines from the start, but how it responds to heat or pressure. Right? So, the whole book, the concept of the book is about hidden potential, that the potential that you can't see, and the systems that we have, any system, entrance exams to job interviews, they all they all like the passage says, they all underestimate or overlook candidates who are capable of greater things, who are just not showing it at that point. And of course, the book goes into a lot of example and a lot of case studies about people who made it despite how everybody said that they have no chance of success in their field, but they still made it. So the attributes that the author is talking about, it's what were the kind of struggles they faced in their life, right? So, like the author says, we need to consider how steep the slope was or how far they have climbed, and those are all important measures because that goes to show the shall I say grit that the individual can bear, um, so that they succeed essentially. Yeah, there are a lot of case studies over here, but again, it's not. There's no time to cover each one of them. I'll move on. Again, hidden potential. Character is more than just having principles. It's a learned capacity to live by your principles. Right? I think it's like short and sweet. That character. It's not just having a fancy set of principles. It's It's also applying those principles when things seem hardest. It's very easy to have set of principles and say that, okay, no, yeah, these are my principles. But if you don't live by them when things get hard, that's not character. Moving on, getting things done. Anything that does not belong where it is, the way it is an open loop, which will be pulling on your attention if it's not appropriately managed. I think this is another way of saying that, having everything organized, or that clear desk, having a clear desk, basically. So the reason is that anything that's not in the place, it'll just keep dragging your attention towards it, and sometimes you do it deliberately so that that thing reminds you, but then you're much better served by just putting it in the right place, in the right system. And the book of course talks about such a system, where you're going to filter everything that's an input to you. You're filtering that into a appropriate organization system. I'll not go too deep into that, right? I think, yeah, I'll just stick to the passage over here. Moving on, the song of significance. Like I said, this is more like a manifesto, so the language is somewhat different. The manager seeks compliance. A manager makes a profit delivering industrial progress and productivity, which is done by doing what we did yesterday a little faster and a little cheaper. The leader seeks to create the conditions for people to make a change happen. Leaders don't need authority, but they must coordinate the trust, focus, and connection of people who are enrolled in a journey to do work that matters. Okay, so the author is just contrasting the manager and the leader, and there are many chapters. I don't know if I should call them chapters, but there are many sections of the book that goes into depth on this manager versus leader discussion. And I don't really think I should really add on anything to this. It's pretty clear. Moving on, remote not distant. Culture and strategy are not rivals. They are two sides of the same coin. A strong culture amplifies a strong strategy, but it won't do you any good without the right strategy. You need both, right? So it's there is, on one hand, there is one saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. That is, you may have the best strategy, but if you don't have the right culture to thrive the strategy, then it's basically useless. So, like the author says here, a strong culture amplifies a strong strategy. Right. So let's move on. Or at your best. In this culture, you almost have to be stressed. For an ambitious person, it's rather unthinkable not to be stressed. When you start to live the thrive cycle and you find yourself loving your green zone, you might think there is something wrong because you're having too much fun and getting far too many things done. It's passages like this, where this book becomes very similar to that um, Zone of Genius, the other book, and that's the point of that book also. You enter your zone of genius by moving past your zone of excellence. Zone of excellence, you're doing an excellent job, but that's still not your genius. And zone of genius is when things amplify, when things just happen. And uh, this passage also kind of talks about that things just happen. You're in your thrive cycle. Things are not challenging, it's just fun. And you are having this nagging doubt that I'm having too much fun. Shouldn't I be miserable at work? That's the kind of thing. So like that's the point the author is making over here, that in this culture you have to be stressed. It's very, very, very difficult to imagine a productive life which is not stressful. But that's the point the book is making, that you can live such a life. Also, the other book that I mentioned, The Zone of Genius and The Big Leap, and that class of books. Moving on, so good they can't ignore you. Second, and more serious, the deep questions driving the passion mindset. Who am I, and what do I truly love? Are essentially impossible to confirm. Is this who I really am, and do I love this? Really reduced to clear yes or no response. In other words, the passion mindset is almost guaranteed to keep you perpetually unhappy and confused. So I remember, we had this discussion on passion with friends, and it was like kind of not a family dinner, friends group dinner, and this thing came up. How do you really work with passion? It's much better to start with choice, as in this is what I would rather invest my time in, and like not I'll not go too deep into that, But this is essentially what this passage is also saying, that asking yourself in terms of what you're passionate about, what do I truly love, what am I really passionate about, that does not give you a kind of a binary answer. And maybe that's the point, because passion is such a concept that you don't really need binary responses over there. It's always there's always some level of ambiguity over there by design. It is such a concept, right? But if you're trying to design your life along those lines, if you're trying to design your work life, the thing that you're going to do day by on a daily basis, it's not really going to work out very well. It's it'll always be that, okay, no, I'm that feeling of when you answer the question, what am I passionate about, and you give yourself an uncertain answer, and then you try to live up to that. That's what makes you perpetually unhappy. On the other hand, focusing on the things that you do well, and that becomes your passion. And like, I have this personal experience, and things that I never imagined myself doing, I have done that many times in my life now. I never imagined becoming a manager. I never imagined working with PHP of all things, and those things happened. And I, I thrived over there. There's no reason that I should be unhappy with that, with those decisions. So yeah, it comes down to this. What are you good at? And like, that's the point of the book, right? So good they can't ignore you. It's basically become so good that they can't ignore you, and that's where you'll find your happiness as well. Happiness, it's like such a vague concept. I feel, excuse me, I feel a little weird talking about it. But sometimes, the kind of productivity that just flows, that you just flow through your day, that kind of productivity, it's not very different from happiness. So yeah, moving on to drive. When we design systems that assume bad faith from the participants and whose main purpose is to guard against nasty behavior, we often foster the very behavior we're trying to deter. People will push the limits of formal rules, search for every available loophole, and look for ways to game the system when defenders aren't watching. By contrast, a web of rules that assumes good faith, as most autonomy centered policies do, can actually encourage good behavior. So, that feeling when something places an unnecessary rule on you and you just have to break it, just because the rule is there. Like, otherwise you won't even care about such a thing. But just because that rule is there, you would want to break it. The things that we determine as senseless rules, there might have been a reason why they have done it. Maybe there was like one bad actor that led to this, and we have examples of so many rules. There are jokes, memes and jokes filled in the internet. So um, there are a lot of examples when rules come about because of one bad actor, and then that kind of like turns into a bureaucracy that becomes a rule that people avoid that, and then it becomes senseless, and then people are even more encouraged to break it, because now you're calling attention to the fact that there is such a rule, and of course we don't like to follow rules, right? Especially things that we have determined that are completely unnecessary or that are senseless. So that is why systems that assume bad faith for the participants and then just keep putting guardrails, um, they won't work. They won't be. You will just keep putting more and more guardrails. You'll never be productive. You'll never actually be progressing with that. You will just be kind of cushioning against everything that can go wrong. And I have seen systems that assumes good faith, and they work. And of course, I'm not saying that there are no bad actors. There will be bad actors in this case, but there are so few, and it's like still guardrails are important over there. But it's kind of very subjective what kind of guardrails you're going to have and everything, and that's like a whole different discussion. Which of course it's like a follow up of this, but I'll limit myself over here. Moving on to last one, the infinite game. Funny, well, where a finite-minded player makes products they think they can sell to people, the infinite-minded player makes products that people want to buy. The former is primarily focused on how the sale of those products benefits the company. The latter is primarily focused on how the products benefit those who buy them. So it's like a very subtle difference, but it makes all the difference, right? That uh, in the first case, that you're making anything that you think you can sell. So you're focusing on yourself, you're focusing on your strengths, and you're just playing with that. You're not going where the customer is. And the infinite minded player makes products that people want to buy. So you're really thinking what the customers need. Like they say, necessity is the mother of invention, that kind of thing. That um, you are finding out what people actually need, and you're building that, and then those are the things that people want to buy anyway. So the latter is primarily focused on how the products benefit those who buy them. So this is the contrast, between the finite minded player who are just thinking about themselves and infinite minded player who are making products that the customers want to buy. And of course, I think like the contrast doesn't play very nicely in my mind. Like finite versus infinite, what does it have to do with this empathy, this nature of empathy? But of course, there are many other attributes that the book covers, and this is just one of them. This is more, it's more like this is one of the results of having an infinite mindset. With that, I think we are at the end of our highlights today, and yeah, I think this was good. Uh, Still, I think we hit the time mark pretty much, and so with that, I'll call it a day. Have a good day, everyone.